and today I have a big old book haul for ya. So it's been like 2 months since I did a book haul, and in the last 2 months, so many new releases have come out. I actually already have a stack on my desk of my next book haul. Like, I have that many books. I had to cut this one off at like 14 books. That was enough. And I think all of these books are brand new releases. So let's get into it. Kicking things off with the Booksplosion Book of the Month pick for October, which is GRIM Lovelies by Megan Shepherd. We're working with the publisher HMH on this one, and I'll go ahead and put all of the details about the live show down below. It's happening this Saturday. In this book, we follow a teenage girl named Anouk who has only been a teenage girl for about a year because she used to be an animal. A powerful witch has transformed her into a human girl to act as her servant. And when this witch gets murdered, Anouk and the other beasties, as they are called, have 3 days in order to solve the murder and figure out how to stay human. It's an urban fantasy that takes place in Paris, and the magic system and like the politics sound so cool. I'm super excited to read this, and it's gonna be happening very, very soon because, again, the live show's this weekend. The next book that I have here is Shadow of the Fox by Julie Kagawa, and this is the Booksplosion Book of the Month pick for November. We're working with Harlequintine on this one, and again, live show details are down in the description. This is a high fantasy novel that has influences of Japanese mythology. Basically, in this world, every 1,000 years, this great dragon can be summoned to grant a wish to whoever holds this scroll. The last wish plunged the land into darkness and chaos, but that was 1,000 years ago. So it's about time for a new wish. The main character is a teenage girl who is half kitsune. She is like a fox shapeshifter, and she has a piece of this scroll. So of course she gets pulled into all of the adventure and chaos surrounding everyone trying to collect this scroll. So yeah, that sounds awesome and epic, and I've been meaning to read something by Julie Kagawa for a while now, so I cannot wait to get to this. The next book that I have here is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kiersten White, and I received this book from the publisher Penguin Random House, who I'm working with this month. This is a standalone, I guess I would call it like historical sci-fi. Is that a real genre? We're following an orphan girl named Elizabeth who is taken in by the Frankenstein family. And as she grows up, she becomes very close with the son, Victor Frankenstein. But because Elizabeth's survival is so dependent on Victor and his moods and his whims, Elizabeth finds herself doing increasingly dark and depraved things in order to stay on his good side. I adore Kiersten White's books. Like, she is one of my favorite authors, and this especially sounds so dark and fascinating, and I am here for it. Speaking of Kiersten White and things I am here for, I have an early copy of Slayer. Now, I'm actually not a big fan of ARCs. Like, I never request them. I would rather just buy a finished copy, but this just showed up in the mail unsolicited, and I kind of screamed with joy when I saw it. I love Kiersten White, I love Buffy, and Kiersten is like the perfect author to be doing this series. Like, this is official. This is Buffyverse canon. And I feel like not a ton of people have read her Paranormalcy trilogy because it's a couple years old. It was her debut, but the Paranormalcy trilogy is fantastic, and it gave me such Buffy vibes when I was reading it that I cannot wait to read this. The actual book comes out in January, so you don't have to wait too long if you want to get your hands on a copy, but I am so glad that I have my hands on a copy because I need to read this immediately. The next book that I have here is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor, and this is, of course, the sequel to Strange the Dreamer and the conclusion to that duology. And I've already read this book. Like, I finally read Strange the Dreamer and then bought and read Muse of Nightmares. I actually also bought the audiobook editions of Strange and Muse, and I swapped back and forth between listening and reading. The audiobooks are fantastic. The books are just fantastic. I loved this duology, and I have so many feelings. And I was actually part of a live show discussion on Little Book Owl's channel about this duology, so I'll link that down below if you want to watch. Next up is a book by another one of my favorite authors of all time, and that is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. Schwab. This is the sequel to Vicious, even though Vicious was originally intended to be a standalone, and it does read nicely as a standalone, but I am so excited that we're revisiting this world and these characters, and I get to see more. The only reason I haven't yet devoured this book is because I want to do a Vicious reread before I jump into this, because I read Vicious only once, and it was years ago. I think Vicious might be my favorite Victoria Schwab book, but I need to reread it to be sure, and I want that fresh in my head when I jump into this. So yeah, I'm planning to reread Vicious and then read Vengeful for the first time really soon here. Like, I want to get to this so badly. The next book that I have here is An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. If you guys don't know, Hank Green is the brother of John Green. They have a YouTube channel called Vlogbrothers, and Vlogbrothers is the channel that brought me to YouTube like 10 years ago. So this is really exciting that I finally get to read a book by Hank. This is the first in a series. It is adult sci-fi, speculative fiction. It's not like in space, but there are definitely sci-fi elements. Basically, overnight, all at once, these gigantic, mysterious statues appear all over the world. We follow a young woman named April May who comes across one of these statues, and she thinks it's just like a cool art piece in New York, and she makes a little video about it, puts it on YouTube, but the video ends up going viral as people discover that these statues are all over the world, and there's a huge mystery about how they got there and like what they are. So April finds herself dealing with all this new attention and fame, and she's also pulled into the middle of the mystery of what is up with these statues. I am so into all of that. Like, this sounds so good, and I cannot wait to read it. Next up, I have here Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, which is so heavy it's gonna crush me. This is the finale to the Throne of Glass series, and it is so big, I don't know what to do with it. That's what she said. It's like 1,000 freaking pages, and I don't know when I'm gonna have time to read this. I need to read it soon because I don't want to be spoiled, and I'm already nervous about that. I think I'm gonna have to buy the ebook to read because like this is just too gigantic and unwieldy. Next up, I have here Sadie by Courtney Summers, and I actually have like 3 copies of this book because I bought a copy and then the publisher sent me an unsolicited copy. And then I heard so many people raving about how good the audiobook was, I bought the audiobook, and I'm probably gonna listen to it rather than read the physical book. Basically, we're following a girl named Sadie who is hunting down her little sister's killer. And Sadie's story, Sadie's vengeance quest, gets picked up by like this true crime podcast. So we switch back and forth between like transcripts of the podcast that is covering Sadie's story and also chapters of us just following Sadie's story directly. So yeah, it sounds like a very gripping and fascinating read, and especially with the way it's told and like the podcast sections, I believe everyone who says the audiobook is amazing, and I'm super excited to listen to it. Next up, I have here The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. And this is the sequel / companion to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which I adored. That book was so fun and so hilarious. Like, I loved Monty and his voice so much. And in this book, we are following Monty's sister, Felicity, who I loved what we saw of her in that book, so I cannot wait to see what she does on her own adventure. Next up, I have here A Map of Days by Ransom Riggs. This is kind of the 4th book in the Miss Peregrine series, but I believe we're starting like a new trilogy arc in this one. Like, we have our first trilogy arc, and this is the new one. I actually never finished Library of Souls. Like, I read the first half right when it came out, but then I was struck down by the great reading slump of 2015, 2016, I don't know. I was in a reading slump for like most of those years. But yeah, I need to finish book 3. I probably need to start over with book 3 and read it from the beginning because it's been so long. So yeah, gotta read book 3 and then I can read book 4. And finally, I have here books 4 and 5 of the Magisterium series by Holly Black and Cassie Clare. These are part of a middle grade series that is now complete with the release of book 5, which just came out. I've actually only read the first 2 books of the series, but but I love Holly Black and Cassie Clare, and I trust them to finish out this series nicely, and I want to marathon the last 3 books together, so here we are. I might actually reread books 1 and 2 as well, just so everything is fresh in my head. They're middle grade books, they're pretty short, I can fly through this whole series. Probably binge my way through this whole series over a couple days. I don't remember a ton of details from the first 2 books, which is why I need to reread them, but I do remember being very pleasantly surprised by the direction that the series was taking. Like, each book ended in a very different place from where I thought it was going to end. So I am really excited to see what Cassie and Holly have in store for us for this whole series. Alright, there you have it. Those are all of the books for this haul, though I will have another haul up soon because I can't stop, won't stop. Thank you so much for watching. You can give me a like if you like. I post new videos every Monday and sometimes other days too, so subscribe for more. But yeah, I will have another video up soon, so I will see you then. Bye! Bye, bye, bye.